Welcome to Old Guys, Gentlemen Flex Fountain Pens. This is episode number 57, and apologize, I've been away for a while. Got into printing a new tilt well stand that you might have seen. That's the Trojan Warrior. And then we went off on a trip to Morocco, and I found out you cannot find many pens in Morocco, especially vintage pens. But then on the way back, we stopped in London, and I was able to get some pens. Some of them were being worked on I won't have for a while. But while I was there, I had a chance to write with a Scribo. Now, I love flex pens, as you can well see from my channel. And for a modern pen to have a lot of flex, it really caught my eye. I didn't have the money for it then, and the person who was selling it, Amaya Sardina from Pen Friend in London, she had some really good vintage pens which I got, which I'll show reviews on later. So I didn't have enough money to get a Scribo, but I got home and worked on a few things and freed up some money and was able to get this pen. It came from Italy, and we are right now. This is the date today is April 5th, 2020, and we're right at the peak of the COVID-19 coronavirus infection going on in the United States. So I've been home for a while, and I figured, well, one of the things I could start doing is get back on the horse and start doing reviews again, because there have been a bunch of other pens that I've been able to get a hold of that are probably worth doing a review on. And this is one of them. This Scribo is made by a company called Scrittura Bologna's from Bologna, Italy. And yes, when I got the box, I sprayed it down with a high concentration of alcohol and wiped everything off, because those poor people in Italy are just really suffering right now, and hopefully that's going to be over with soon. But in any case, this is made in Italy by, like I said, Scrittura Bologna's, I think. And there are a bunch of ex-employees, or at least some of them are, of the company that made Omos pens, and they had a flex pen as well. I've had the chance to write with Omos pens, but I never got one. So this was an opportunity that I wanted to get. So it came in a nice box. It had some nice paperwork that came with it. Well, I guess I must send this in, the guarantee certificate. I have to write in here where it came from because the dealer didn't sign it. I got it from Gold Spot Pens. It's kind of expensive. That's one of the downsides of this. There are some pens that are this expensive that I think are worth it. This one probably is not. It's a really nice pen. I'm glad I've got it. I probably would have gotten it knowing what I know right now. But for most people, this would be a little bit too expensive, because there are other pens out there, modern pens, that you can get that have this sort of flex to them. Came in a nice box. Got a little magnetic latch. A cool little pen case with a microfiber cloth. Oh, look, there's room for another pen. Now, this is the Scribo Field Flex Blue Black. Let me see, if I take this away and you're looking at this, it probably just looks black to you. And I kind of like this. But if you put a light on it, I don't know if you can see that, but it definitely is blue-black. But only with light that's really up close. It's a 14-karat, what they call flexible pen nib, and extra fine. That's what it looks like. Scribo. And I believe that says EF on the side. My hands have stopped shaking. It's an interesting looking feed. One of the things I really kind of like about these flex nibs is there's no cutouts. There's no special cutouts on here like you see in a lot of the other pens to get the flex. It looks like a normal nib. So somehow through the metallurgical properties of the metal and maybe the thinness of it, although it doesn't look especially thinner, but it has some significant flex that you'll see in a second. Now it came as extra fine, but it's really a Western extra fine, and I like more like a double or triple extra fine. And so I ended up grinding this nib down to the point where it's like triple extra fine. And let's see if we can show that. These are what hands look like when you wash them 20 times a day and use hand sanitizer gel on them. Add to that I'm almost 70 years old, so sorry about the skin look, but that's the nib. It was a little bit broader before, and now it's pretty fine. Some other things about the pen are that it is dimension-wise, it's 5 3/4 inches capped. Uncapped, it's 5 3/8 of an inch. It does not post, and so that's a negative. I like to post pens, even though this is, enough of a pen in my hand that it doesn't really need to go out. I like the little bit of extra weight out here. Most people don't, so that's probably not a big deal for most people. So it came, before I ground it, it was extra fine to 3 broad plus plus. And I'll be doing a writing example so you'll be able to see that better. And it was very smooth. And so if you like that thicker amount, and the other thing is, it's very wet. It's just as wet or maybe a little bit wetter than the bigger Pelican pens. I'm not really big on that, and so for this demonstration writing here, I'm using my driest ink. It's a Pelican 4001 Blue Black, which is my go-to ink for pens that tend to be too wet. But if you really like the ink to flow, this is a good pen for that. After the grind, you can see, well, of course you can't really compare it because I don't have it here, but I ground it down now. It's a triple extra fine using the Richard Binder chart for line thickness to triple bow plus. I took away, it was very smooth before, and now it has some feedback, which is typical when you get down to this kind of thinness. One of the things that really surprised me is that usually you don't get this sort of response unless it's a vintage pen. A lot of makers today, modern makers who do a flex kind of pen, you might be able to get line variation close to this, but then it kind of fails this test. Very responsive nib, which is really, really good when you want to start out really thin, go thick, and then go right back to thin again. And as I said before, it's wet. Let me do some writing with it. So I will repeat this up here. When the nib sits out like this for a while, like I've had, it tends to dry out pretty quickly. Yeah, but it comes back. It comes back pretty easily. So I'll kind of repeat some of the stuff I did up here. With a really light hand. Again, this is with me grinding it. And a bit increasing pressure. Probably can't see it from where you're at, but this you can see nice big puddles of ink in there. Thin, bounces back pretty quickly. Nice. And here's that response. I mean, it really pops back quickly. So, for the lazy dog, Not the best handwriting, but I just enjoy doing variations like that. And so it is really nice and flexy. I'm not sure if you should always press it like this, but one thing that you can check is, is it pulling away from the feed at all? And it is not. And maybe if you keep doing that, it would. And I should, keep my flexing to more like a double broad. Actually, that's probably still more like a triple broad. Can't help myself. Okay, so on the good size, I like the size. I like big diameter, heavier pens. And the color is kind of cool. It's not as good as, some of my other pens. Like, I guess this is one of my favorite pens, the Parker Vacuumatic. But it's still kind of a cool pen. What I don't like about it is that it doesn't post. I mentioned that. It's kind of got a blocky design. It kind of steps down here. I don't notice it that much, but I know that'll probably bug some people. It is piston fed. I didn't mention that earlier. That's a good thing. Too pricey. I don't know if I said this earlier, but I spent $760 on it, and that was kind of one of the bargain prices that I could find on the internet. This should be more like a $300 pen. But I guess they don't make a whole lot of these things, and it's Italian. They can ask that price. I guess one thing I didn't show you is there is some cool detail on here, on that band. What does it say? Feel the writing. Kind of a simple quill for a logo. That's kind of cool. It's solid. So anyhow, I think that's it for this pen. I hope you got some value out of that. If you got some money to blow, and I don't anymore because the coronavirus kind of wiped out a lot of my savings, but it'll probably come back. But if you have a little bit of money, well, the first thing you should do is buy some of my tilt well gear on Etsy. Just search for tilt-well on Etsy.com. And then if you have more money, then you can consider a pen like this. So that's it. I hope you got some value out of it. And until next time, I'll try to be a little bit better at getting these out on a more regular basis.